Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video I'm going to be trying my best to give kind of like as much advice as I can in one relatively brief video to help people get to zone 25. And in the first half we're going to be talking about more general tips in prepping when to do your run and what to do before that and what to do during the run. And in the second half of the video I'm going to be giving you some tips on strategy, which champions kind of like work better. I'm obviously not going to be mentioning all of them. There are tons and tons of champions that can work well for incursions. None of them quite good as Hercules, and there's no way around it, but you can definitely do a zone 25 run without a Hercules. And we're going to start with the fact that you should not rush the zone 25 push at all. You should do it in week 3 or 4, ideally. And, well, that's for a couple of reasons. Number one, just be patient, familiarize yourself with like the hack combinations. You will give yourself a chance to basically practice whatever strategy works best for you with your roster, what makes you more confident, doing like difficulty 5 or 4. Meanwhile, you're going to be earning that currency. And the most important thing to do with it is go and purchase all of these incursion revives. You can get 2 of each level revives, so 6 revives per week, and that's a lot. And these, even the cheapest ones, cost like 50 or something units, so you can get them here for free for a very small amount of in-game side event currency. And even if you're not going to use these right now, incursions are going to get a revamp. Basically, they're going to look exactly the same as I do this month, except that there is going to be a 7-star crystal in the incursion store. So in the upcoming months, I suspect that quite few of us will want to do incursions, and you will not want to use your units even then if you have any of these left over. So my advice is, as you guys can see, I already purchased all of the revives here. I also purchased the health potions. These also typically cost a pretty penny. If you're going to check level 4 health potion, you can get 2 of these a week. And basically 6 potions, 6 revives. And if we take a look at incursion store here, then normally these potions again are not cheap. And this month there is a very good opportunity. As you can see that each of these, like that's 170 units plus that's 400 units. You can collect this basically 4 times in this side event, or 5 even. And yeah, that means a couple thousand units worth of, whoopsie features, and saving yourself quite a lot of units with these health potions as well. So definitely every week do the lower difficulties or do some sort of practice runs before that to make sure that you grab the milestones, grab the top zone bonuses, earn some of these currencies, and do your zone 25 push later in the month once you have stacked up as many of these free revives possible. And again, even if you have too many, you're going to get to use them next month when you are going to go back to playing incursions. So that is, I think, the most important bit. A lot of very eager people are, rushing into incursions immediately. And then I used 500 units, and I'm quite happy with that. And I just think to myself, well, then you're an idiot. Like, that's about it. If I wasn't confident that I would get through my incursions run with the items that I got from this store, or if I wasn't a content creator, I definitely just give it a week or 2. Like, there's absolutely no reason not to do it and no reason to rush through. So that's the first thing. And then during the run, keep in mind that most of the champions in the game, you can beef up with some sort of pre-fights and do that basically at the very start of the run. If you're running Hercules, bring in your Gallon, bring in your Odin, and then just swap them out after the initial couple of rooms, because all of these pre-fights remain for the rest of the quest, even if you swap these champions out. So any champion in the game you're going to be using, just give them Odin pre-fights. Why not? Because Odin pre-fights are very useful, first of all, because if you eat like a big special attack, you can't lose more than 15 or 20 or something % of your max health in a single hit. And that can alone save you. It can give you some resistances, making some champions immune, for instance, to some debuffs or virtually immune. And additionally, these buffs from the Odin pre-fight will work tremendously well with several of the hacks that give you attack based on how many buffs you have. There are other hacks that like buffcorn that can enable you to kind of like and let those hacks work better. So pretty much always make sure that you know which pre-fights can be applied to your champions and carry on. So every cosmic champion, there's no reason not to give Gallant pre-fights, for instance. Even if you don't really need them, it can still save you, because later on, Gallant pre-fights can, let you become unblockable when you throw a special attack in a block. That can absolutely save you. Gallant pre-fights will make any cosmic champion relatively recoil friendly, for instance, no matter them not having any immunities or anything like that. So on and so forth. And as well, Odin pre-fights, if you use a mutant, then you can definitely use Apocalypse, make any mutant Horseman of Apocalypse, especially if you want to run like Kitty or AA, for instance, because, again, if you do make a mistake with Archangel, for instance, Apox pre-fight can not only make Archangel more effective, but also save you, because when you get hit for the first time, you go unstoppable in the fight. There's a lot of benefit to always apply these pre-fights, pretty much regardless which champions you use. And moving on, always read all the nodes and do not rush. This is my personal kind of like problem that I messed up at the end. I ended up using like extra 4 or 5 revives at the end just because I was streaming and I stopped. Well, I got careless because my run was going so well that I just stopped reading final boss abilities. And I wasted like 5 revives on a single fight. And it could be worse. A single fight can actually make you, get stuck. So always take it slow, read all of the nodes, make sure that you will be able to get through those fights. And if you need be, change your team, swap something in, swap something out. Take a break if you get tilted. That's also super important. Incursion run, you can do over the course of like 7 days. There's no need to, finish it in one sitting. If you get tired, if you notice that you're not playing too well, if things are not going your way, you don't need to immediately give up or just brute force through it. Just put the phone away for a bit, come back tomorrow, come back later that day. No need to kind of like, force yourself through it all. And at the start, if you do not get any of the boss hacks that you want, just restart. If you get like good boss hack in the first selection choice, bad boss hack in the second one, you can still restart, because you can start over within 5 minutes. If you watched my live stream where I pushed the zone 25, that's exactly what I did. I got to my first boss hack selection. I didn't see anything that I liked. I just backed out, went in back again after 5 minutes, because now the cooldown's only 5 minutes. There's absolutely no reason not to do it. Right. Let's take a look at some hack and champion suggestions, some other, strategies and stuff like that. Number 1, strategic movement plus keep it going is an insanely powerful combo. If you get both of those boss hacks together, you can pretty much kill anybody. Because strategic movement gives you a massive attack increase, and keep it going puts an armor break on opponent on every 10th hit in your combo meter. If you make sure that you load up strategic movement charges before you land your 10th hit, you're going to be placing an insanely huge armor break that will allow you to do a ton of damage. So definitely that's kind of like the new popular combo in the school. The second bit is the trick that I used. Martial Artist plus stun upgrade plus special refund. And I also had that hack that gives me more combat power rate if I'm unblockable. So that made it absolutely OP. But even with these 3 hacks, in most cases, especially if you have any other hacks that will increase your debuff duration, for instance, you will be able to stun lock opponents with a ton of champions. For instance, if you're not running recoil, with Martial Artist, stun upgrade, special refund, I'm quite sure that Ronan can stun lock pretty much anything. So you can more or less finish the fights just by getting to level 1 and just keeping them infinitely stunned. And then if you do have any other hacks that increase your damage output, like perpetual offense or keep it going or whatever else, you're just going to, trivialize a lot of content. There are a ton more champions that have guaranteed stuns. For instance, Stark Spider-Man or Ultron have guaranteed stuns on level 1. Hulkbuster has a guaranteed stun on level 1. I don't know, even Bloody Kang. There's a ton of champions that have these stands either on level 1 ideally, or level 1 and level 2 even better, that you can completely abuse with this martial artist stun upgrade special refund combination. Potentially some sort of power back boost as well from the class. And stun locking opponents is a perfectly viable strategy that will work tremendously well. In fact, I kind of do want to try out Ronan in Incursions just to see how well that can go. But yeah, Gambit also has a guaranteed stun. I'm just looking at a ton of champions. And a lot of champions will be able to just randomly stun lock your opponents. There's no question about it. Now, moving on, Tide of Combat plus Rage into Combat is also super useful hack combination, especially if you get some increased ability accuracy hacks, like Martial Artist, for instance. Because then, whenever you parry, for instance, you would get, when your parry expires, or a stun debuff or any other one, you'd get a Fury buff, then you'd get more power. And this would also work very well with stun locking kind of like features, where you'd get Fury buffs, increasing your damage, and you would get power whilst you're gaining Fury buffs, plus obviously any other champions that can naturally gain Fury buffs, like Ronan, which is why I want to check him out that much. Toxic Advance plus Herc or Jags or a few other champions is just absolutely OP, because when that hack was designed, we didn't really have any champions that went unstoppable or unblockable like all the time. And now Hercules being unblockable during his immortality, or Juggernaut just having like 10 unstoppables whenever you strike opponent, is going to put poisons on opponent on every hit, and gonna give you armor up buffs pretty much on every hit, and that will further, you know, fuel your attack surge buff count hacks or buff corns and stuff like that. Very, 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 very dangerous combination. And then we have attack surge buff count plus Odin prefights is like an automatic permanent massive attack increase on virtually any champion, which is exactly why I recommend, you know, adding Odin's prefights to pretty much any champion that you're going to use. And keep in mind that you can, you know, use 3-star Odin, 4-star Odin, 5-star Odin, 6-star Odin, you know, all of that is on the table. And whichever champion you're running at the moment, just, you know, give them the Odin prefights. Very simple, very, very effective. Buffcorn is always quite good to grab. And a few more notes that a lot of people have been asking. Herc plus Galen plus Odin prefights is the standard go-to setup for Incursions, and a lot of people were wondering, yes, again, if you put Galen and Odin prefights on Hercules, for instance, or any other champion that they can be put on, and then swap these champions out, those prefights do remain for the entire quest, unless you force close the app, unless your game crashes, then those prefights can disappear. But in general, yeah, Herc, Galen, Odin is a perfect starting team. Win one fight with Galen, then do second fight with Hercules, but before you enter the fight, apply Galen and Odin prefights, all of them, and then just swap out your Odin and then swap out your Galen, and, you know, bring in another champion, bring in a fresh Odin, put the Odin prefights on the second champion, swap out your Odin for Heimdall. That's kind of the strategy half the time. Sig 200 Thing is also super important, because Thing, a lot of people asked in my video, why did I have Thing with me? And the reason is because Sig 200 Thing basically is immortal in all the latter rooms. Or more specifically, you will take virtually no damage, because every time opponent's going to make contact, either hit you in the face or your block or on parry or anything of the sort, Thing is going to trigger protection. Only dangers are damage over time effects that protection still mitigates, but if your protection goes on cooldown or it just expires and you still have the damage over time effect, then you're going to be in trouble. But as long as you keep your protection on, basically, and keep refreshing it as quickly as it goes on cooldown every time you make contact with the opponent, Thing is effectively immortal. Thing can cover up to 80% damage on his Sig, and then up to another 20% damage based on your rock stacks. So if you have 20 rock stacks and max Sig Thing, basically impossible to die. But even, and therefore it's the only kind of dangerous times with Thing is when you end up throwing special attacks. So in some fights you might want to avoid doing that. And that starts working somewhere around zone 11, zone 12, where every time you parry, your protection is going to trigger. If you're running recoil, for instance, that also means that thing is going to be healing pretty much throughout the entire fight, because your protection also takes care of your recoil damage and your liquid courage poison debuff. Angela plus Odin plus Heimdall is also an OP team, and I have seen a lot of people do Zone 25 run with Angela. In fact, I have one video ready to upload showcasing some crazy stuff with Angela. I believe it was like a rank 3 Angela, and you guys can see how insane numbers she can put up, like millions upon millions of damage. Another similar team is Red Goblin plus Null plus like Anti-Venom, or Heimdall perhaps instead of Anti-Venom, especially if you're running Recall Masteries, and then put Gallant Prefights on Null and Red Goblin beforehand, ideally, making both Red Goblin and Null quite recoil friendly. And Null works like as an additional Heimdall to Red Goblin, and Red Goblin with his symbiosis to Odin Prefights, his symbiosis to a ton of other stuff, can be a very powerful champion for Incursions. And so can Null, because if you have Gallant's Prefight on Null, then he takes no bleed or poison damage basically, and then he heals a ton. And yeah, it's quite powerful. And don't forget the Null synergy with symbiotes, giving them the protection. If you have Recall Masteries active, then whenever you would be knocked out, you get that protection, and even when that protection expires, you will have healed up more than enough to cover that burst. So that is very viable strategy. Again, Wolverine, especially with Odin Prefights plus APOC, is almost immortal in Incursions. If you do have like a 6-star rank 3 Wolverine, well worth testing it out, because Wolverine's regen and bleed damage goes through the roof with APOC Prefights, making him Horseman. And if you have Odin Prefights, even if you make a mistake, Wolverine will pretty much never die, because if you have 6-star Odin Prefights on Wolverine, he can only lose 15% of his max health from a single hit. So even after a full combo, he's not going to die. And then his regen is just going to heal him up pretty much meanwhile. So it's very hard to die with Horseman Wolverine, especially if you have Odin Prefights, because again, of that damage cap that Odin Prefights put on Wolverine. It's a very powerful strategy. I did like a zone 18 or zone 20 run once with like a 5-star Wolverine. I promise you, it's a great amount of fun as well. Some other great champions that can potentially replace Hercules would be something like Aegon, because his ramp up again carries through from room to room, and he works tremendously well. We have Morningstar, that again, same thing, ramp up carries through from room to room, and she has a lot of perfect block chance, and she can get decent damage with hacks, and obviously regen a ton, so Morningstar can be quite dangerous and useful. King Groot still can put in a great deal of work in Incursions. Cersei has been one of the kind of like Incursion MVPs in general, especially if she's awakened, because whenever you do make a mistake, your glancing is going to give you a ton of protection, especially if you have relatively high sig, letting you regen back most of the damage that you take. And she just synergizes extremely well with damage increase hacks, because then your level 2 is going to end up regening you for a ton. So her level 2 does have regen mechanic in it that can let you recover a ton of health. Kingpin and Eyebomb both have permanent regens and can synergize with some hacks tremendously well. Also, again, if you don't have Hercules, worthwhile considerations. And there are several champions that work extremely well if you're running Recall Masteries, like Angela, permanent healing, and obviously if you give the Odin Prefights, the synergies with Odin are crazy good. Lady Deathstrike plus Recall Masteries is a great time, because again, you get a ton of healing, and if you have that hack that gives you extra damage per debuff on opponent, her hit damage can go through the roof as well, plus some other hacks that give her armor up or armor rating will increase her rupture damage. So she's a very fascinating champion. Karnak, Joe Fixit, Claire, and Corvus all are great if you're running Recall, because Joe Fixit heals. Joe Fixit, just like Claire, heals back based on the damage that you do. So you get to heal back a ton. And then Corvus and Karnak just kind of passively heal from your Recall Masteries and can blitz through a ton of rooms. Null, again, permanent heal. Kitty, permanent heal. Namor, permanent heal. Thing, also permanent heal. Again, I'm sure there are a lot of other champions and great setups that can work and do work. Everybody's welcome to leave their own personal recommendations and experience, and champions that have been working on the best for them in the video description. I'm not even claiming that I know all the strategies and there's always, oh, this is the best. Write it all down. This is just to give you guys as much kind of like help and insight and potentially ideas what would you guys could potentially try out. And again, do not forget the initial tips. Do zone 25 push in week 3 or 4. Make sure you clear out those potions weekly. Practice in the lower difficulty runs meanwhile. And again, do not ever forget about prefights. Super, super useful. Also, make sure that you have a striker on any champion that you're going to use in Incursions. And always read the notes. Take a break if you get tilted. And do not be afraid to restart. Anyways, that is it for now. I hope you guys find this video useful, and I'm going to catch you guys soon. Bye! Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about